Hello, welcome to a Patreon Q&A where I answer my patrons' questions. I'm Peter. You might know me as Mini-Me. And I'm sick. I've been sick for 2.5 weeks, which is a really long time for what is seems to be a head cold that turned into an infection. So yeah, that's why my voice is a bit huskier and a bit weaker. I was hoping to have at least a video out in the last couple of weeks, but apparently my body doesn't want me to. So here we are. I've pulled it together to answer some of these wonderful, wonderful questions. Starting with Luna Dalton. Hey Pete, what's your favorite food? Which is a big question, right? Is it normal to just have an answer for this? Have a go-to? What comes to mind is I really like chicken pad thais. A really good chicken pad thai will do me well. Or a mixed snack pack with chili sauce. A halal snack pack, sorry, with chili sauce. I also really like Persian kebabs or like kubadeh, right? Like lamb or chicken laid out on saffron rice. Amazing, great. I like big meals that are just sort of, you know, wholesome and make me feel full and taste great. I'm a simple man. Bry asks, what recent movie would you want a AAA video game adaptation of, and why is it Tenet? Yeah, I mean, Tenet. It's not a bad idea. I feel like you could do some stuff. Like you could do what Time Shift or Quantum Break did with sort of time control mechanics. But I think John Wick. I think John Wick is the best answer for this. I think John Wick Hex was a pretty bad video game. It was sort of a top-down, turn-based-ish, tactical John Wick video game that came out about 5 years ago, and I wanted to review it, and I played it, and I thought it was really boring. I think it's a unique idea. I think it's mechanically interesting. But actually playing it didn't feel like it had anywhere near the strategic depth it needed to. But yeah, John Wick. Make a John Wick game like Max Payne 3, and I'm happy. Jam says, question completely stolen from MinMax Pod, which I hear is very good. You have the choice to risk it, make a sequel, mix it, remake or remaster, or nix it, kill forever. The following games that never saw a sequel. Which one do you choose? Days Gone. Look, part of me is like, I shouldn't kill any of these. You know, they all have potential. But if there was one that I was going to nix, Days Gone is a weird game. I get that it has a huge fan base. But I don't know, just the Midwestern USA zombie gruff man game is incredibly boring to me. I don't see any reason to revisit that concept. I don't see any reason to make a sequel to Days Gone. So let's say nix. We're going to nix it. Diddy Kong Racing, make a sequel. Risk it. Remaking it, you know, fine, I guess. But if they just dropped a Diddy Kong Racing 2... like, that's fun. That's a cool idea. LA Noire. LA Noire I would remix with a remake rather than a remaster. I think LA Noire is a collection of extremely good ideas and aesthetics that aren't fully capitalized on. I think the overarching story and the way that LA Noire's sort of detective mechanics worked weren't great, but they were good and they were interesting, and I think if they were revisited, that'd be cool. Eternal Darkness, I would also remix. I would remake Eternal Darkness and try and modernize it, because Eternal Darkness did some really cool fourth wall breaking stuff that kind of only worked on like CRT TVs. Like, didn't the screen go blue? Or like an analog, like static, like feed would come through the screen and make you think your GameCube was broken and that sort of thing. That wouldn't really land as well today. So if they could modernize it and maybe like draw data from your Nintendo account, or I don't know, do some stuff with the cloud, they could do some fourth wall stuff that I think is interesting and modern. Enslaved, I would risk it with Enslaved. I think Enslaved is good. Yeah, that's a weird one. Like, you could remake Enslaved because it's kind of a story that starts and finishes. But I think Enslaved has really good aesthetics and really good performances. And that's sort of its two biggest draw cards. And capitalizing on those in either a remake or a sequel would be cool. I'm going to say risk it for the sake of it because the first game is pretty good, so follow it up. And it wasn't that long ago. Revengeance is fantastic, so risk it, make another one, make a sequel, follow it up. Sunset Overdrive, I don't like Sunset Overdrive. I'm a Sunset Overdrive hater. I think that Sunset Overdrive suffered from not committing hard enough to its traversal mechanics. I think just magneting onto the rails and just sort of floating around that world just felt really unsatisfying, unskillful, and sort of icky and slow in a way that it shouldn't have, and potentially it potentially could have been something really interesting, but I wouldn't. Yeah, okay. I'd probably remake Sunset Overdrive, but make the mechanics really fun and maybe tone down the sort of annoying dialogue and aesthetics a bit. Alpha Protocol is fantastic, but very, very, very flawed. So I'd probably remake it and fix up the combat mechanics and sort of polish it up a bit. Or just do a sequel. I'm going to say remix, though, for that. That's a great question. I enjoyed that a lot. Cannondorf, hey, Peter, thank you for the closure on Wicked Witch updating AFL Evolution 2. Now for another bit of closure, did N-Fusion ever update Deadly Dozen Reloaded with permadeath and more restricted HUD options? Have you revisited the game since then? And if so, has your opinion changed on it much between then and now? I haven't really revisited it. I think I've played it once since, and my opinion hasn't changed. I think it's good, but very, very, very underbaked. And no, N-Fusion never, ever updated Deadly Dozen. Not even, like, once. I'm not even sure it ever got an update. Like, there's a bug in it where the ambient occlusion effects will be transparent behind your gun model, so you can always. So the only way to really play the game to make it look normal is to turn off ambient occlusion, which is ridiculous, and they didn't fix it from what I know. And the game was announced to come out on all the consoles, even Switch, just months after it came out on PC, and that simply never happened. So they didn't even do that. And like, trailers dropped for Switch, and I think like maybe the PlayStation or the Nintendo channel put up a Deadly Dozen Reloaded trailer and said coming soon to Switch. I'm not sure if that's true, but I think it's true. Sorry, my voice is cooked. And yeah, it just never did. So I imagine that the game completely bombing on PC probably played a role in them just not even bothering to release it on consoles. Thanks for the question. Ruth Knappman, hey, hope life is treating you well as of late. Mate, I wish it was. And thank you for all the absolutely wonderful videos, as always. Question, is there a specific genre of game that you feel you will never quite click with enough to be able to do it justice in either a review or in casual play? Yeah, like... I feel like I'm pretty good at playing just about anything. There are certain genres that I've never super gotten into. I've never really been like a grand strategy guy. I've never loved MOBAs. Probably MOBAs is the one that I couldn't properly cover. I think top-down racing games are all bad. It's one of my controversial opinions. I've never played a top-down racing game that's fun. Maybe I wouldn't be equipped to review a fighting game, but I do enjoy fighting games. I could probably pull it off. Maybe I'm delusional, but I'm confident enough to think I could review pretty much any video game. Peach Sunset, hey Pete, hope things are going well. What games have you been playing recently? I've been looking for new things to try out lately. I finished Like a Dragon Ishin recently, and it's spoiler alert, it's probably going to be my game of the year, if not up there. Yeah, it's really, really incredible. I think taking sort of the Like a Dragon everyday life mechanics and structure and plugging that into the sort of 1850s Japan and the Meiji era sort of stuff is really powerful in a way that games often don't try to explore, especially when they go down into historic settings. Like you look at Ghost of Tsushima, which, Ghost of Tsushima's success is basically why Like a Dragon Ishin got released in the West. But Ghost of Tsushima focuses entirely on combat, almost. Riding a horse around and combat, which is fine, and it's fun, and it's obviously, this incredibly beloved game. But you don't really get any sense of what life was truly like in that setting. And I think the interactive medium is so powerful that you can feel more immersed into worlds than almost any other medium sometimes. And I think that Like a Dragon Ishin capitalizes on that a lot better than most video games do. And I've also been playing some Virtua Tennis, which is an old one, but it's just fantastic. Play Virtua Tennis 2 or 3. They're both a lot of fun if you just want like a podcast game. Thanks for the question. Guilherme Silva. Hi, Peter. Let me ask you this. If you were a game developer and somehow you had super budget for retrieving a dead franchise, what franchise would that be and how would this game be like? Yeah, it's an interesting question, and it's one I think about sometimes, and I think it's one I get asked a bit, and I've probably said Kane and Lynch in the past, so I won't go down that rabbit hole again. I think a franchise that was onto something was Blood Rain, and Blood Rain was basically a response to Tomb Raider. It was kind of like, Lara Croft is the hot, polygonal, sexy gamer thing going on, so we're going to make our own, but she's a vampire with red hair. But Blood Rain, there was this wave of early 2000s third-person games that came out on PC with really, really, really tight controls, like direct input. It kind of like... It was a third-person game with like sort of first-person shooter, snappy, instant controls. It was games like Rune and Enclave and the Jedi Knight games, like Jedi Academy and Jedi Outcast. They were definitely in this ilk, and they were really snappy and sort of just felt great to play. And Blood Rain was one of those. Blood Rain wasn't a fantastic video game. It was very, very flawed, but if it was, you were very agile, it was very fast, it was very visceral, it was very violent. The controls were really, really tight, and I think if that franchise could come back and capitalize on those qualities of the first game, which the second game didn't do, that could be really, really interesting. Giant Purple Pen 15. Given the resources, which game would you do a remake to change the ending because you weren't satisfied with the original? Not to bring up Kane and Lynch all the time, but Kane and Lynch 1's entire third act was like this weird, like Vietnam game, like just kind of found itself in Kane and Lynch. Like there's a point in Kane and Lynch where you just go to Vietnam and suddenly it becomes like a Vietnam shooter, and it's weird. Like the actual narrative ending note that the game lands on is good, and it's a great emotional payoff, but the entire third act feels completely out of place and doesn't align with the rest of the game in a natural way, so I would definitely change that. Robin Broberg, congrats on your Dwayne Spy Hunter video getting loads of views. Do you feel it's quite random what videos succeed, or is The Rock just that much more popular than Vinny? I made that video knowing that it would be fairly popular. Not that popular, but I did kind of know that The Rock's face would be clickable and that would be a bigger video on the channel, because I'd done a bunch of niche stuff and I felt like I should balance that out a bit. there's always a fight between like what I want to do and what I think will be successful. And that video definitely leaned on the I think this will be successful side. Ideally, what I want to do is also one that I think will be successful, but lately it hasn't been. So yeah, you know, like when I did the Queen interview, I wasn't expecting that to get 1 million views. But when you do a game with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, there is sort of a something in the back of your mind that is like, yeah, nah, people are probably going to click this. But yeah, it's not entirely predictable, and I do get sort of my radar on that wrong all the time. So yeah, I don't know. YouTube's weird. Try not to think about that stuff too much. Siren Songs, your favorite sandwich place is going to make a meal called the minimme, but you're the one to design the recipe. What's going to be on the sandwich, and what comes on the side, and what drink? I think I start with like a brioche bun. Like, it's a bit burgery, I know, and I hit it with some some southern fried chicken, some crispy on the outside, juicy on the inside. Just easy, melts in your mouth, southern fried chicken, and then just a bit of lettuce and gravy, maybe a lot of gravy. I think that's all it needs. I think that could be awesome. Give me that. I'm hungry now. And then I'd put a salad on the side. I think chips are too heavy. This burger sounds heavy. We need something to sort of palate cleanse the burger. And then for the drink, maybe a vanilla Coke. It's very sugary. It's unhealthy. It's a guilty pleasure, but vanilla Coke better than normal Coke. Love that stuff. Ruth Knapman, hey, hope all is well. What was the first game you ever received a review code for? And what is your favorite game you ever received a review code for? All right, get out of here. Kingdom Come Deliverance is the first game I got a review code for, and I didn't review it. Life got in the way, you know, sort of mental health stuff hit, and I was at uni at the time, and it all kind of came crashing down. I haven't got a lot of review codes in my career. I haven't got a lot of review codes, but I've certainly had a lot of chances to get them. I've been offered plenty. Generally, when I cover a newer game, I've probably got a code for it, but that's rare that I do that. But yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance is a cool game. I think it was a really interesting attempt. I think it does what Red Dead Redemption 2 really wants to do, in that it's like genuinely a sort of big open world, realistic, historic, immersive sim, where Red Dead feels like a lot of half efforts towards being that. It's certainly very flawed, but it's fascinating. I should revisit it, and maybe I should review it. Maybe I should, redeem myself in the eyes of the developer that sent me that code and actually review it. But yeah, cool. Thanks for watching. That's the last question. I hope my voice isn't too cooked. I'm going to go just take some spoonfuls of honey now. Goodbye. Hi everyone, hope you're well. We got one last question from one Sam Sneed, so we're answering it here on camera quickly. Sam Sneed, have you seen Black Mirror? If yes, what was your favorite episode, and how would you make a video game based on the series that isn't just a choose your own adventure game like Bandersnatch? I haven't seen Black Mirror, sorry to disappoint, so my answer to this question is kind of useless, but from what I know about Black Mirror, I think the best studio to do it would be Remedy Games. I think tonally Remedy Games is really good at capturing that sort of B-movie horror vibe in a way that other studios can't, and in a way that I think Black Mirror hits upon, you know. I'm not sure, but the kind of stuff that Remedy Games do with their more surreal scenes, where, you know, you turn around and your environment's completely different and voices start coming in, and it's sort of a third-person action game. If they could somehow take one of the Black Mirror concepts and plug it into a Remedy game, I think that'd be really interesting. But again, haven't seen it, so I don't really have a strong answer for this. Yeah, maybe play Quantum Break and Control and even Max Payne 2, and then kind of get the vibe from those games. And I kind of think you could turn that into Black Mirror, but I don't really know. But thanks for the question. This is the real ending to the video now. So goodbye.